Hi, this is Joyce Van Setters. Welcome to the Pink Book series, stories about mental health and art. If there's something that resonates with you, I hope you join. Welcome to the Pink Book Podcast. I am your host, Joyce Van Setters. I am thrilled to continue to bring you conversations with game changers and innovators who are redefining their success. Today, I got an exciting one for you because I have 1/3 of Naughty by Nature, Vinnie Brown.
Yes. Hey. How
Vinnie,
are you, love?
I'm very good. Welcome to the podcast. I just want to say I'm always been a huge fan of yours. I graduated high school in 1991, and that was like the Naughty by Nature album I remember coming out.
Yes.
So huge fan, always been a huge fan. Love what you guys are doing, but I want you to talk about your story and how you got started in the business. I know you're from ILLTOWN, correct?
Yes.
For everybody that doesn't know what that is, East Orange. I have a huge love of that. My mother was born and raised in East Orange, still lived there, when I was an adult. So huge fan of East Orange. But how did you get started? Tell me about Little Vinnie.
Well, Little Vinnie, I'm born and raised in East Orange.
Okay.
You know? I always make
What
sure.
What parties?
North 15th Street
Okay.
and Park Avenue, between Park Avenue and William Street.
Okay.
So, we lived in the smallest house on the block.
Okay.
If you go through the teen streets, there's 3 family homes, vertically.
Right.
We lived in a former candy store, as I understood.
Oh, really?
So I'm the youngest of 7 with 5 sisters and 1 brother.
Wow.
And
5 girls.
Yeah, and my mother was a crossing guard.
Okay.
So, I remember being just so super spoiled. But in my home, my brother used to drum.
Okay.
And my mother loved to play music, Lou Rawls and, Peebo Bryson.
Oh, yeah.
But then my brothers and sisters, they had Confunction and Slave
Nice.
and Earth, Wind, and Fire and all that stuff.
So you were always around music.
I was always around music as a youngster,
Okay.
And definitely was very poor, economically challenged.
Okay.
Because again, I remember my mother being a crossing guard and making about $200 bi-weekly.
Okay.
So I don't know how the heck she did that.
Right.
But
She raised you guys by yourself.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, basically, definitely, yeah.
Okay.
But again, I had my brothers and sisters, and we raised each other. But the beauty of my childhood was that I lived on the teen streets, and it was almost like an amusement park.
Okay.
So although we were poor and had humble beginnings, you can go up and down the block, and
Yeah.
either the fire hydrant will be running,
Right.
people playing rope, jumping rope, playing jacks,
Yeah.
street teams, football, baseball,
Did they have block
basketball,
parties? We used to have block parties.
block
Yeah.
parties, you name it. I never remember being bored,
Wow. Yeah.
And I remember, back then I was growing up, and Facts of Life was big.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So Tootie, Kim Fields, she lived on her roller skates. Right. So me and my guy Slick, we used to roller skate every day, all day. And I remember being a little dirty kid in the
Really?
summertime. I would skate from morning to night.
Oh, my God.
Go to bed in my skates and wake up in the morning and
serious?
skate out the house. Honestly, I don't know.
Did you
how
forget
I
how to
did it.
walk?
I know, right? I'm smooth with it.
That is so cool. How old were you then?
That was 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years old.
Okay.
10 years old.
And what high school did you go to?
East Orange High
went to
School. I'm
East
a
Orange High School.
Panther. Yes.
Okay.
But now, they knocked that school down and they built Cicely Tyson School of Performing Arts.
Oh, I didn't know that. My younger sister graduated from East Orange High.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
Interesting. And what did you do in high school? Like, what was Vinnie in high school like?
Well, Vinnie in high school, I was nerdy by nature.
Were
I
you?
remember, yes, always having good grades.
I'm actually not surprised at that. Don't take that the wrong way, but I'm not surprised at that.
Yeah. Well, education was a thing in our
Yeah.
home, especially with my brothers and sisters, and they raised me, they helped me with my homework and everything. And for me, I guess I've always been an extrovert.
Okay.
So I always loved going to school.
Really?
And I was somewhat of a menace. I
Okay.
remember just antagonizing all the girls, and I was, always cracking on the guys.
Right.
Because again, I grew up on the block where, for one, I had my brothers and sisters,
Right.
but we had so many kids on the block
Yeah.
that you had to have your wits with you.
Right.
So with that being said, definitely education was a must.
Okay.
And I remember finishing all of my work in school and not having such a heavy load
Wow.
when I came home. But the school district was good back then.
Nice.
It's not still good now, but It's not like one of those school districts where you can just get over.
Right.
You know, so I remember doing my work, always finishing my work, and always timing, like even in study hall, using that time to finish my work.
Right.
So I wouldn't have as much to do when I got home. And I remember KG is a year older. He's a
Okay.
year older. He graduated 87.
Okay.
Tretch and I graduated 88.
Okay.
But in KG's yearbook, I remember he and I in the yearbook making honor roll. So we made honor
Wow.
roll. Yeah.
Okay.
And then in my yearbook, out of all the class superlatives and you know, class clown and all that,
Okay.
I won all that stuff.
I can tell you, I've never made the honor roll in high school.
Yeah.
Go figure. And were you into hip hop and music in high school too?
Yeah, definitely. Junior high, I remember I had a guy, Mark Young, we call him Loke.
Okay.
He's the guy on our block where we used to bring out the cardboards, the linoleum,
Okay.
breakdancing,
All right.
beatboxing. He always had all the mixtapes from, you know, New York.
Yeah.
So the Kumo D, Busy Bee Battle, Dougie Fresh, you know, Fat Boys.
Right.
All of those live shows when hip hop was underground, he would have those tapes, and that's what we would hear. You
Got
know
it.
what I mean?
Yeah.
And then between Teddy Ted and Awesome 2, you know, and all that underground hip hop, that's what really
Got you going.
got me going.
Okay.
Yeah. And I used to break dance. So I
You used to
started
break
off
dance too?
as break dancing and
Okay. You was a
beatboxing.
b-boy?
Yeah,
All right.
definitely.
All right. So how did you guys get started with the group? Like, was it after high school? Was it during high school?
It was
You and
during
Tretch
high
graduated
school.
together, right?
Well, no, it was KG and I.
Oh, okay.
Tretch was an MC around our way,
Got
so he was on the circuit doing his own little shows
Okay.
as Tiny T.
Okay.
And then KG and I, we were street kids, so
Okay.
we used to do our little street thing.
Okay.
But I used to beatbox, and KG used to DJ, and then I used to hang with my mentor, Ski.
Okay.
He's the father of the NFL player Jabril Peppers.
Oh,
He played
I
for
know
the,
Jabril.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So his father, Terry Peppers,
Okay.
was my breakdancing partner, and I used to breakdance. He lived directly across the street from
Okay.
Kay. So I used to be with Terry. He used to breakdance with me. After I finished breakdancing, I would go across the street to Kay.
Wow.
So he was always DJing on his sun porch upstairs.
Okay.
So I would beatbox for Kay while he DJ'd and played breaks, but we never had an MC.
Wow.
Then Tretch was in my health class in
Okay.
10th grade. Every other day, he would come to me with a new rhyme. I would beatbox for him, and we would get in trouble for it. But it got to a point where class 87, they were about to graduate, and they had a talent show.
Okay.
So Tretch and I were sophomores.
Okay.
No, Tretch and I were juniors.
Juniors.
KG was a senior. So it was for his senior talent show
Okay.
in 1987, and K wanted to participate. So he's like, yo, we got to do this, but we didn't have an MC. I was like, let me bring my man Tiny
There
over.
you go.
And K was familiar with him. It was
Right.
just that Tretch and I were classmates.
Okay.
So I brought Tretch over, and we had a group. But actually, we were like a mini Get Fresh crew.
Okay.
Because Dougie Fresh had Chill Will, Barry B.
Right.
Then he was the beatbox,
Right.
and he had Slick Rick
Rick,
come in
yeah.
and out. So for us, we had 2 beatboxes, which was
Who else was beatbox? KG was beatboxing
no,
as well?
KG was a DJ.
DJ, okay.
So K was a DJ. We had another DJ, Mufi,
Got it.
who was KG's neighbor. And then I was a beatbox. Then we had another kid, Octobox, who was a beatbox.
Okay.
And Tretch was only MC.
Okay.
So it was almost like a Fat Albert
Yeah.
percussion band. 2
Right.
DJs, 2 beatboxes,
Right,
and one
and one
MC,
MC.
you know? So we had that as a group. And then I remember us doing this first talent show.
Okay.
And
All of you were in it?
yeah, all
Okay.
of us were in it. And, you know, we just did this routine. We didn't even have the name of a group.
Right.
But we did a routine, and we started the routine with the Beastie Boys. It's the new style.
Yeah.
And we crushed the show, and we were like, yo, but we don't have a name. So we began using the name New Style. And then some of the members, like he fell off, Mufi fell off, and it was just K Tretch and myself.
Okay. And when did your first album come out? Or let me back up a little bit. So you did the talent show.
We did the talent
Obviously,
show.
it was dope.
Yep.
What happened after that?
So after the talent show, of course, you have the kids like, yeah, that was cool,
Yeah.
but y'all won't make it. Y'all
Right.
won't make it. And we became the new style.
Okay.
So from there, we started making merchandise, having new style jackets.
Okay.
We started competing locally. We started competing at the Tough Teen Talent Competition at Club 88,
Oh,
right there
wow.
on
Club
Evergreen.
88, yes.
That's right. So we used to compete against the likes of, and
Okay.
this is what you need to pay attention to, boys and girls. We used to compete against the likes of Queen Latifah, Wyclef Jean,
Wow.
Redman, rest in peace, Fatal from the Outlaws,
Wow.
Tupac's guys, Lords of the Underground.
Yeah.
I mean, we had the who's who of Jersey,
Wow.
80s talent back then.
That's crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, Queen Latifah's, I went to high school, Irvington High. Back then it was called Frank H. Morrell. And her mom was an art teacher there.
Yep, the art teacher. Rest in peace, Miss Rita Owens.
Yeah.
Was another one of our great mentors
Yeah.
and mothers in hip hop,
Yeah.
right?
Wow.
So, once we, kind of mastered our backyard, and this is another thing I like to share with a lot of artists, A lot of artists now, because of the technology, they think they can just make music, upload it to the internet and
Right.
blow and make a TikTok or so. You can't forget about this physical street grind, And your best testing ground is your backyard. So this is how we started. We did every local talent show possible to the point where we mastered our backyard, and then we had the audacity to think that in the 80s we could penetrate the New York market. So at the time, KG's older brother, Pook, he used to manage us,
Okay.
and he had a relationship with this promoter, Stan.
Okay.
Stan used to promote Cool DJ Red Alert's
Oh,
annual
okay.
birthday party.
Okay.
So Pook politicked it where he got the new style to open up or participate at this show. Cool DJ Red Alert's birthday party.
Wow.
We pick up the mic and I say, yo, what's up, y'all? We're from Jersey. Jersey's in the house. We got booed before we even began the record,
Yeah.
Because back then, if you weren't from New York,
Right.
you couldn't be down.
You were soft, right?
They didn't want you, and you could literally physically get rushed out of any
Wow.
venue. So it was literally dangerous. But we got booed at Cool DJ Red Alert's birthday party.
Okay.
And we got booed in front of, once again, ladies and gentlemen, the likes of the entire native tongue. So that's
Whoa.
Tribe Called Quest,
Yes.
De La Soul,
Yes.
KRS-One at the time, the Jungle Brothers, Queen Latifah was there. That was before we signed the Flavor
Wow.
Unit.
Yes.
And I mean, the who's who of New York was there, and we got booed out the building. And
Did you even perform?
we performed a bit, and we just
left.
walked off
Okay.
stage. We couldn't get through the routine.
Right.
And the craziest part about that show was we drove in from Jersey, and it was winter time. So we drove in, the ground was dry. By the time we got booed out the venue and went back outside, it's like 2-3 feet of snow.
Oh my God.
And it was the longest drive back
I
to
bet.
Jersey ever. And they were like, Vin, you should have never said we were from Jersey. We're like, blah, blah, blah. But it definitely lit a fire under us. And that kind of, lit that fire. And we were like, we'll get you guys back. We'll be
Right.
back, New York.
Okay.
And shortly thereafter, we ended up signing to the old Sugar Hill Records.
Okay.
Sylvia Robinson,
What year was
Joey
this?
Robinson. Huh?
What year was this?
This was 88.
88. Okay.
Just after we graduated high school.
Wow.
And we signed the old Sugar Hill Records, but at the time, they converted the name to Bon Ami Records.
Okay.
So we signed, we did our first album. The first single was the new style, Scuffing Those Knees.
Oh,
and the
okay.
album was Independent Leaders.
Yeah.
So that came out in 1989.
Okay.
And Tretch calls it a shelf sitter. There's no marketing, no
Nothing.
promotions, no nothing.
Okay.
And, that was our first taste of the music industry.
Got it,
So
okay.
we had that bad deal. Then after that, we had to get out of that deal.
Okay.
That's when we linked up with Flavor Unit.
Flavor Unit. Okay. And how did that come about?
Queen Latifah, again, she was one of our colleagues around the way, underground, and she was down with Flavor Unit with Mark the 45 King,
Right.
Apache, Lakim, Shabazz, Lati, And with that part of the flavor unit, they were already putting out records.
Got it.
And they were really cool with Cool DJ Red Alert.
Okay.
And as a matter of fact, that's how Queen Latifah got down with the Native Tongues.
Oh, okay.
So, you know, if you see My Buddy, De La Soul's
Yep.
My Buddy, the remix, Moni Love, Queen Latifah is on it, and the whole Native Tongues are on that record. So Queen Latifah.
I remember the music video.
Yeah, from that music video. So Queen was in by way of Flavor Unit with Mark the 45
Got
King. And Cool DJ Red Alert and Mark the 45 King were really, really cool.
Okay.
You know? So at that time, Queen Latifah and Shakim decided to make Flavor Unit Management. So they sort of branched off from what Mark the 45 King was doing with the Flavor Unit MCs.
Okay.
Queen Latifah and Shakim created Flavor Unit Management, and then they signed us. At the time, we were called the New Style still. They signed us because they liked us. We were around the way. I remember us meeting up with Queen Latifah in front of Roy Rogers. And KG at the time, this was transitioning from New Style to Naughty by Nature, still rocking a high top fade. So she always loved KG's fade. And we were like, yeah, we the New Style and we could show you, you know, better than we could tell you. So we, again, KG's brother was managing us at the time.
Okay.
He graduated Upsala College. So he still had relationships there. He was able to rent out the gym.
Okay.
We threw a party for ourselves to show Flavor Unit our following.
Nice.
And then we invited the entire Flavor Unit. So again, once again, boys and girls.
Listen up.
You know, you have to. If you just run down on people and say, yo, I'm hot, listen to my music, it's not about that.
Yeah.
Like right now, you know, a lot of labels, they want to see your followers, they want to see your engagement. So physically, before all of this social media, this is what we had to do.
Right.
So we booked our own venue. We invited all of Flavor Unit out. We packed it out ourselves, showed them our followers, and we smashed the show. So Flavor Unit was like that. And then we gave them the demo. They liked the music, but the problem was we were the New Style. And we were still signed to
the Sugar Hill.
Sugar Hill.
Okay.
So it was like, first thing you got to do is change your name.
Yeah.
And it was rough for us because at the time we were so married to the new style, you know, and we had so much success with it, right? So, you know, that was the challenge. So again, we were just scrambling. What do we do? So Tretch looked into his rhyme book, said Naughty by Nature. It's like, that's the name. But Naughty by Nature was actually the title
like
of a New Style song.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Got it, got it.
And the thing is, we cannot find that song till this
Are
day.
you serious?
Yes, we cannot. It was dope. It was dope. We remember the sample and everything, but we probably have to get in and remake it.
Yeah, exactly. You definitely have to do that. What year was that when you guys became Naughty by Nature?
That was like
91?
89, 90.
Okay.
89, 90, because, you know, it was a tight window. We put out that New Style album, it was 1989.
Okay.
So that transition was 89, 90, because we came out with the first single, 91.
Got it.
With OPP,
Yes.
once we made
Okay.
the transition.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what
So
I
the
remember.
beauty is that Queen Latifah was already signed to Tommy Boy Records.
Right.
Tommy Boy already had De La Soul, Soul Sonic Force, Force MDs. They were a hot label, hot street label.
Wow.
So once we signed the Flavor Unit Management, we were able to, you know, sign to Tommy Boy Records. So,
That is dope.
yeah.
Wow. I remember 91. I don't even remember the first album. I apologize. the 88 one. I remember your Naughty by Nature being the album when I graduated. That was like what we played at every party.
Yeah. Well, that was the breakthrough, you know? So,
Got it.
again, the New Style album was the shelf sitter.
Got it.
No marketing, no promotions, but
you
around
still
the
count
way.
it in your 7 albums, right?
Yeah.
You got to.
Yeah. Well, you have to count that as a New Style album. And then
that's true.
Naughty by Nature as a group.
Okay.
Then the OPP first single and first album started that, right?
Right. And then where do we go after that? You guys had 6 albums altogether?
What did we do? 4, 5. We did 3 with Tommy Boy, 1 with Arista as Naughty by Nature before all of the drama.
I remember after 91, it was like, wasn't it 1993? Naughty 1993.
Which was the Hip Hop Hooray album.
Yes.
And then 95 was the Poverty's Paradise
Yes,
album,
okay.
which actually this year is the 30th anniversary of the Poverty's Paradise album.
Congratulations. Happy anniversary.
Thank you. And that's our first and only Grammy Award winning album.
Wow.
So technically, we should be celebrating all over the world this year, but
Yes,
unfortunately
I know.
not.
We should be touring.
Yeah.
We.
Right. True, true.
Right? So what happened after the 93 album? Where were you guys at with like touring and all that?
Well, for one, OPP was the monster breakthrough song, and thanks to MTV and Ed Lover, rest in peace, Todd One.
Oh, I thought you said rest in peace, Ed Lover. I'm
No,
like, what?
not,
When
not
did this
Ed
happen?
Lover, yeah.
Okay.
Todd One, his little sidekick.
Got it, yeah.
He passed a couple of years ago. They spoofed OPP with Down with MTV.
Yes.
And
I
then
remember
MTV, they were, really just embracing hip hop on that level. And they had every personality on MTV participate in that video.
Wow.
So that really crossed us over.
Yeah.
And really separated us.
That is definitely a crossover song, crossover album.
Yeah. And so that and the OPP album, just blew us out the water. Second single was Everything's Gonna Be All Right. And then in 93, we came out with the 1993 album.
Right.
Hip Hop Array was the first single off of that. And Spike Lee directed the video.
Yes.
So it was like back
And everybody
to back.
was in that again, right?
Yeah.
Queen Latifah, yes.
Moni Love.
Oh, I remember that.
Tupac was in there vaguely. You can't see him really.
That I don't remember.
But he was on set. Run DMC.
I remember that.
We had a ball out there.
That's nice.
Yeah. And, like 91, we were 21 years old.
Yeah.
And 93, we were 23. We were red hot, just all over the place.
You guys were
touring
still
all
in
over
East
the
Orange?
world.
You guys were still in East Orange back then?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Definitely. We were in East Orange. I mean, we had the whole block with us, Soup and all of our guys really galvanized our whole city, our whole area, well, at least down the hill initially, you know, and it was definitely new. It was new for Jersey. It was new for the city to have some locals just blow like
especially
that.
like EO. Like, how was it at that age touring?
I was crazy, because really should have been just graduating college, but
or not.
Yeah,
I mean,
well, we did tons of college, so maybe we didn't do the academia, but we definitely did the college party.
You participated in the college activities?
Yeah.
Okay.
So imagine 20-year-olds with a hit song like OPP.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, like that must have been crazy touring. Like, you guys had to grow up.
Yeah. We grew up on the road. I mean, we got cultured, but, and the beauty of it was the new style was the test run. You know what I mean? So it wasn't like we were just fish out the water and we didn't know what the heck was going on. We had a lot of training, and then we were nurtured by Flavian and Queen Latifah.
Got it.
Prior to us even dropping OPP, Tretch went on tour with Queen Latifah.
Oh, okay.
So we were a bit cultured.
Okay.
And we were street kids, so we had a couple of dollars.
Okay.
And, so we were able to manage it without just crashing out.
Right,
You know what I mean?
blowing everything up.
Yeah. But we definitely had a lot of fun. We crossed over, so we had a big white audience, big crossover audience.
You still do.
Huge urban audience, and it's just like the biggest blessing on earth when you really look back at it.
That's amazing. Talk to me about after 93.
So after 93, we was just rocking out. 93, KG began producing other groups. So we had Rotten Rascals, and then Janae came out with Hey Mr.
He produced
DJ.
them, right?
KG produced them. In between that, then the R&B group Next was coming up after that. So between 93 and then 95.
They're from Jersey, Next?
No, Next is they're from Minneapolis.
Okay.
Yep. And so by then, KG began producing other acts. Naughty was red hot. And then after 93, 95, we dropped the Grammy Award winning album, Poverty's Paradise, and the big single off of that was Feel Me Flow.
Nice. I remember
Which was another crossover banger, you know? And
that was retarded.
Yeah. So by then, we were cooking on all four burners then,
Nice.
not only with Naughty, but actually starting to produce other groups.
All of you were?
Well, KG was,
KG was,
but
okay, but it's
it's
part of your,
under the
yeah.
family.
Got it,
Right.
got it. And then after that, what happens?
Um, After
You're
that,
still touring?
yeah, we're
Yeah.
definitely still touring, and I just think after that, of course, every group, kind of hit that ceiling, and then with just a bunch going on, because again, at that time, '94, I opened the retail store downtown North.
Oh, what
Yeah,
retail store?
Naughty Gear.
Oh,
So we
okay.
had a whole retail store.
I knew that store, but I didn't know you were the owner. I
Yeah,
didn't know you
yeah,
were the owner of
yeah.
that. Okay.
So we had a Naughty Gear store, and then Tretch did the film company,
Okay.
and KG had the record label. We had ILLTOWN Records, but then it converted into Divine Mill.
Okay.
So, with Naughty's success, it just started opening up all of these lanes. And I think everyone started paying attention to the different verticals.
Right.
And, the focus
That's normal.
began falling apart.
Yeah. For the group.
Yeah, for the group. And that's 95 onward.
Okay. And we're still putting out albums after this.
Yeah. But then the albums began stretching out.
Okay.
Because first album was 92, second album was 93, third album was 95, which is a 2-year gap.
Right.
Between 95 and our 1999 Nature's Fury album, it's a
Oh,
4-year
there was a
gap.
4-year gap. Okay.
Yeah. So those gaps began stretching, and the attention was all over the place. And then, drama and friction and all that stuff started happening.
Do you think audience were losing attention because of the gaps?
I don't think audience was losing attention. I just think that for us as a group, it disrupts the consistency. And then on top of that, you have the Jay-Z's and the Rockefellers
Got
and the
it.
Snoop Dogs and the Death Rows and Cash Money. So you have other cliques coming
Right.
in. And of course, they're inspired by us.
Yeah.
But they're moving like 10 miles an hour. I mean, 1,000,000 miles an hour. While we're the first. We set off the decade of the '90s. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
while we begin going through our stuff internally, these guys are on the rise. And on top of that, a lot of those guys were on major record labels
Got
with
it.
major distribution. We were, on Tommy Boy, which was an independent.
Right.
And then our fourth album, Nature's Fury, was with our Arista Records. But at that time, Bad Boy was in the building, and Biggie and these guys. So
Right.
definitely a lot more competition at that time.
Got it. What made you open the store downtown North? Just for another avenue of revenue? Or?
Well, no, really corporate America, because we were
Good
so
answer.
hot that we would have the likes of Adidas and Columbia Sportswear. They would get with us and be like, here's a ton of clothes. Here, wear it, do this. And we're like, wait. We're street kids, and we always invested in ourselves, and we
Right.
always had our own, from the new style to Naughty by Nature. The label made the first Naughty boxers and the Down with OPP t-shirt and stickers. They did that because every label did that as promotional vehicles. We took it and doubled down, quadrupled down on it. So whatever the label made, they made it to distribute throughout the industry. We quadrupled down on quantities and created or produced our own goods so we could sell and give to our fans. And it got to the point where we were establishing our own brand, but then these other brands would come and say, here, wear our clothes for free. Even it got to the point where Adidas, they wanted to do a poster with us. We did the poster. Then they're like, we want to distribute through Foot Locker and all of the, and then we're like, wait. Let's do a real deal here,
Right.
And at the time, we were invested in ourselves, so we had jackets and tees and all this. And Columbia Sportswear was another one. Take all the clothes, and we're like, wait a minute, why can't we do a real deal? Oh, we only do that with athletes and this, that, and the other.
Right.
Well,
But they're going to sell off your
Right,
stuff.
right. You just want to exploit us.
Yeah,
So
of
we were
course.
like,
We don't
no
think
way,
so.
no way. Again, we reinvested in ourselves, and that was my venture, the merchandise. So the merchandise, the fan relations, all that. And then I was like, the logic behind it was we learned from Public Enemy, we learned from Spike Lee. Because when we toured, our first major tour was with Public Enemy, and in talking to the S1Ws, and we learned from Eazy-E. Back then, all the artists had merchandise in their cutouts or in their cassettes and CDs. So I remember when we worked with Easy E, and he's another one who was in our hip hop parade video.
Oh, yes.
I'm like, Easy, how do you do this? He was like, well, the label, has a licensing deal with a company. They produce all this stuff, and we get a royalty off of it. We were like, well, nah, we'll invest in our own inventory. We'll go to the label. We'll tell them we want our merchant to pull out.
Right.
We'll do our own fulfillment.
Yeah.
And that's what we did, when it came to that. And then
that's that honor roll student.
Yeah. And then, in talking to the S1Ws, we were like, well, what do you guys do when you go home? It's like, there's tons of merchandise, and we do a lot of the fulfillment with the mail order and all that. So I was like, bet. All of our guys who go on the road with us at the tour bus, of course, they're salaried, but when we go home, of course, we have more money, but what do they do, So we were like, what can our people do? So we had a girl and a guy, Hosmentine and LaShawn Coleman, from Jersey who worked at Spike's joint in Brooklyn. So Spike Lee had a retail store in the middle of his hood in Brooklyn, downtown Brooklyn. So I would go over there and see what Spike was doing. I was like, wow, this is inspiring. And back then he had all the movies, 40 Acres and a Mule.
Right, right.
I was like, that's the movement. So you know what? I can open a retail store, and the kids who can't tour with us, and even the guys who do tour with us, once they come home, there's a retail play there. You know what I mean? And then, since Tretch was doing the film company, KG was doing the record label, plus Naughty, all of the content we produce, it could live there, and that would be our own Disney store. So that was the concept behind us doing the Naughty by Nature store.
That is some real thinking.
Yeah.
That's nice. And at the time, you guys were still touring.
Yeah, at the time we were still touring, and no one else was doing it, So I credit Spike Lee for inspiring us to do it, and a lot of people are like, yeah, y'all were the first, blah, blah, blah. But, I just remind people, you're always inspired by someone else.
Always.
And, it's always been done before. So if you're inspired by someone, please, by all means, give them the credit. Give them their props. And if you're able to take things to the next level, fine, so be it. But don't act like you were the first one.
Right, you're never. Exactly, exactly. So after 1999, what happens after that?
1999, Nature's Fury, we toured, and then things just got to a head, KG was producing his acts, and then KG was producing R&B. So that was a whole different lane.
Right.
And if you can imagine, 99, 2000, the East Coast, West Coast beef was going on, and hip-hop side was a little hectic, And KG, I think he found solace in producing R&B, and that really became his focus. And then I just think on the Naughty side, it was feeling neglected there. And just, we all started butting heads. So the music production slowed down. We slowed down with touring, and then K quit the group, like around 2000. KG quit the group after the, what was that, Holiday and Craziest on that Nature's Fury record. Jamboree, yeah, that was another one. And Dirt Up on My Lonely. Oh, Nature's Fury was hot.
You're taking yourself back, aren't you?
Yeah. So, after the 1999 Nature's Fury album, Kay literally quit the group. And, all hell broke loose, and we lost our producer. So moving forward around 2001, Tretch and I, we just had no choice but to move on. And we did an album without Kay called the Icons album. Yeah.
That was the last album, right?
That was the last, yes, Naughty by Nature album. But I don't necessarily count it as an album because it wasn't all three members.
Okay, all right, that's fair. Did you guys tour with that album?
Yes, we did. So at that time, that's when it was Tretch and I, and then we had the Rotten Rascals with us at this point. They were totally independent. So we all got together, and then that's when we brought in Soup. Soup was working with Rotten
Shout out
Rascals.
To Soup. Yes.
Yeah. Soup was working with Rotten Rascals, so he was familiar with us and toured with us. So we were like, all right, bet. we have to pick up these pieces and keep it going. So Soup was road managing us, tour managing us. Tretch and I was signed to TNT, TVT Records at that time. And we were just making the best of it with that album, but we toured all over the world. We still had tons of equity, tons of clout in the game.
Nice. And when you guys got back, like, where did it go?
You know, it was just kind of fledgling at that point. You know, we kind of lost our steam. KG was home. And really from like 2000 all the way to 2010, we just toured without putting out new music. You know what I mean? And
you just did all your old stuff?
Yeah, yep. All of our old stuff, and toured a decade off of like 4 albums.
And weren't you guys the first hip hop group to perform at Fenway?
Oh yeah, definitely. But that was by way of
New Kids on the Block?
New Kids on the Block. Yep, yep.
Still we're the first hip hop though.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. So really that's what happened. KG quit the group around after 99, 2000. He quit the group. Tretch and I toured 10 years without him, and then we reunited around 2010. And that was by way of VH1 Hip Hop Honors, because that show was big at the time. They were doing a lot of hip hop, honoring different people. So yeah, around 2010, we all kind of rekindled. And then when it was our turn to do VH1 Hip Hop Honors, we had brought KG back in the group, reunited, and reintroduced him to the audience in 2000.
That's dope.
Yeah, yeah.
And then how did you guys end that?
How do we end it? Yeah. What do you mean?
Like, were you, after you did that, did you guys still go on tour, or you just kind of did that honors and
Oh yeah, no.
split?
We did VH1 Hip Hop Honors, and then we worked on another album called Anthem Inc.
Okay.
Yeah. So that Anthem Inc. album was really like an independent album, and then it was distributed by E1. But again, that album, there was no real focus there. I think at the time, you know, everyone was still worried about their groups. Tretch had his clique of guys, those artists. KG had his clique of artists. And that whole album, I'm not on one song.
Really?
It's Naughty by Nature, Anthem Inc. Everyone's on the album but me.
How did that come about?
Because I just felt like, you know what? Focus is still not here on the group. It's about everyone else and all these other groups and all these other artists. And it's like, Naughty is Naughty, man. The people want Naughty. We built Naughty from the new style, and just that focus isn't there. You know what I mean? So I kind of felt away, and for whatever reason, I just didn't participate.
You didn't participate,
so
okay.
That energy was kind of weird. However, after Anthem Inc., we continued to tour.
You did?
Yeah, we continued to tour together, yep. And that was what? 2010, 2011, 12, 13.
That must have been a little weird.
Yeah, until all hell broke loose again around 2013.
Okay.
2014. Yeah.
All right. And once all hell broke loose, what did you do?
Yeah, there was just a lot of friction, and
I mean, you just kind of went another route, like you just, I'm assuming all hell broke loose means the group was done.
Basically.
Okay.
But I think we were touring still dysfunctionally.
Okay.
Yeah, we were.
Right.
I think we were touring through it. I remember.
Was it just like about getting the money? This is business.
Yeah,
We're just teammates now.
Yeah, get the money. I remember we weren't even speaking to each other, all 3 of us.
Wow, but you're on stage.
Right. And I remember Tretch taking his own car. I remember KG and I being in our own car. At some point, I remember K and Tretch being in their car and I'm riding solo.
Right.
It was just weird energy, tons of weird energy, you know?
Yeah. After that, after those tours came to end, what did you do?
I was home. I was home. We were all home. And really just navigating what are we doing? What is this thing? You know what I mean? Yeah. And hell, next thing you know, we're into 2015, 2016, 2017.
Goes by fast, right?
Yeah. And at some point, we got it back together because we toured all the way up until the pandemic. Okay.
Really?
So, yeah. And I would say like 2010, 2011, somewhere along there, Donnie Wahlberg and New Kids on the Block reunited. They called us out to Radio City Music Hall. We showed up with Naughty Kids on the Block t-shirts because I thought that would be a dope collab.
Right.
So I took my Naughty and the Naughty font from our logo and their Kids on the Block and made Naughty Kids on the Block t-shirts. So they were just reuniting and they did Radio City Music Hall. So we began this relationship with New Kids on the Block.
Love it.
And I think that was a total different demographic for us.
Yeah, huge.
And
just a side note, this is before social media, New Kids on the Block, groups like that, New Edition, they had all, they would have like different town band managers that you would take care of all their stuff in whatever in your town. I was the band manager for New Kids on the Block.
oh yeah, wow. That's incredible.
Yeah, but there was no social media. People would send in letters and you would write back and sign their names and send it back to them.
Right, wow.
Yeah, hate to tell you guys, it wasn't them, it was me. You got the letter from, but.
That's right. Well, and with that, we were introduced to their fan base, the Blockheads, and, of course, Naughty had tons of success, but we never saw an operation like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's with a fan base, all of the fan coordination, harnessing that fan base, collecting that data, and directing them and really steering your fan base. So once we began working with them, it was like, wait, this is a total different level. So we did Radio City Music Hall. Then eventually we did a cruise with them, their New Kids on the Block cruise.
Okay.
So we saw that. That was incredible. And then in 2019, we finally, like 9 years later, finally got to go on tour with them. So it was
all of you?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was New Kids on the Block, Naughty by Nature, Salt and Pepper, Tiffany, and Debbie Gibson.
Tiffany?
Yeah. So they were 80s
around?
babies. Yeah.
Yeah,
Tiffany,
she was like the mall entertainer when I was younger.
Exactly. Think we're in love now.
But she would only perform at malls. I saw her at like Dover, Delaware Mall.
Yeah.
Blue Hen Mall in Delaware.
Right. And so for us as Naughty, because we had that fine line of the street hip hop and crossover hip hop. But at that time, we were doing shows with Wu-Tang Clan.
Wow.
We were doing shows with,
Listen up, boys and girls.
you name it. You name it. We were doing shows with them, Ja Rule and all of these guys, Ice Cube, Snoop. But then we could come over to the New Kids on the Block side and rock out with
bands,
them,
right.
Salt and Pepper, and that diversity was like, it was a blessing. And then at that time, we're like 25 years in the game, and we're like, you know what? To be able to have this kind of diversity is a blessing. And it really starts sinking in like, wow, look at what we've done. And this is our baby. And this is really a gift and a blessing. And you should really count these blessings.
Yeah, and you guys are also talented.
Yes, definitely.
So how does it end? How does it not end, but how does it get where you guys just stop touring or stop performing together?
The pandemic.
Okay.
So it was the
That makes
pandemic.
sense.
So we did that tour 2019 with New Kids on the Block, and right after that, the pandemic
2020
hit.
pandemic, okay.
Yeah, 2020 was the pandemic, and then it really gave us a chance to sit home, and we were blessed because, our catalog, our royalties, all of that stuff was in place.
Yeah.
But once the pandemic happened, everyone was like scrambling. A lot of our peers like, oh my God, they were going broke and all this. We had just finished that tour. We had our royalties. But then I told Kay, I was like, you know what? Let's do a deep dive. Although our house is in order, you never know what happens when you do some deep cleaning,
Right, exactly.
So we called our lawyer and we were like, look, let's send for our publishing statements. We had just finished with Tom Silverman and Tommy Boy Records, so that relationship was cool. We were like, let's focus on this publishing and see what that is. And that's where we found out we weren't paid for our first 3 albums for like 12 years.
What the fuck?
Of publishing.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And whose idea was that? Did you, like, all of you just thought, like, let's...
It was me and Kay because, there's still a little friction in the group.
Yeah.
But Kay and I were communicating with each other, And at that time, 2019 was the first time, it was the first tour we introduced Sluggaz.
Oh, okay.
as a DJ
Got it.
hype set, because Slugger opened up that tour, that New Kids on the Block tour, and it was the mixtape tour. So Slugger is a DJ hype set. We opened up the show, but then New Kids, since it was a mixtape tour, they opened their own show. So it wasn't like they were the headliner and they
you were
were
just
underlings.
right. Okay.
They opened the show and weaved all the acts into the show as one big show. So, you know, when the pandemic happened, we were like, you know what? Let's send for our statements and just see where our money is. And that's when we found out, okay. And then when they sent the statements, KG was the one that looked and was like, wait, a couple of these albums aren't on here. So the lawyer went back to the publishing company and they were like, oh yeah, you're right. So we had them by the kahunas, baby.
Nice.
Yes, we did.
Nice.
So
And you would have never known.
That's right. And again, ladies and gentlemen, this is in any business if you have business partners. It's not beneficial to beef amongst each other, because 9 times out of 10, the problem isn't internally. We don't have our money, they have our money. So if you pay attention to your business, you'll have less friction. But if you have this internal friction, that's when lawyers, accountants, managers, they could really take advantage of you. They could either sell you short while you're beefing. They could, hey, here's a show, but they'll have a contract from the buyer. The buyer can be putting up $50,000. The agent may say, hey, the gig is only $35,000. Keep 15 on the back end, pay you 35, and still commission you 10,000.
Oh my God.
You know?
Yeah.
But if you're on point and you have a steady front, you can go at all of these people and hold them accountable
Together,
and make sure your money is together. And I don't care if you own a restaurant, I don't care if it's a clothing store, I don't care if it's a gas station. If you have partners, you pay attention to your business and you try your best to stay together, because the growth of that business and your money is in other people's hands.
Well said. I personally think ILLTOWN SLUGGAZ was genius to redefine your success.
Yes.
Talk to me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, well, ILLTOWN SLUGGAZ and Sluggaz, the bear, it came about because I was running the merchandise. 2017, I took back the merchandise from the licensing company, and I just started going direct to consumer online. There was a Russian guy who had a similar character. He had on a Naughty by Nature hoodie. I was like, yo, that's kind of dope. I need a character like that.
Right.
So I worked with him and we came up with the bear. He didn't have a name, but we came up with the bear as is, and he had a Naughty by Nature. Yeah. This is Slugger. So we came up with the bear. He had the bat behind his back, and he had the Naughty by Nature hoodie on. So I told Kay, I was like, wow, this character is dope. There's still a little friction in the group. We can't make this bear a Naughty by Nature mascot. It's like, but the thing was, Kay had a guy who was into EDM. So Dead Mouse, Marshmallow, all of the DJs that wear his hat. The kid had DJ Panda. So Kay had a group called Elite, and their DJ was DJ Panda, a panda bear mascot who used to DJ. So when we came with the character, I was like, hey, still tension in the group. We can't make this a naughty mascot. We got to figure this out. Kay was like, well, you know what? He's holding a bat. Why don't we call him Slugger, like Louisville Slugger? He had a bat. I was like, yeah, and you know what, Kay? Since we're from ILLTOWN, we could be ILLTOWN SLUGGAZ.
There you go.
And we'll have a new group, and we'll take DJ Panda, take him out of the Panda, and we'll create Slugger the DJ and put the head on him. And now we're ILLTOWN SLUGGAZ, and it's a DJ mashup thing because the guy loves the DJ.
That is so dope.
And then, Kay, since you run the label and all that, we could partner up on management, and it'll be a record label and artist management and DJ mashup set. And there you have ILLTOWN SLUGGAZ.
Brilliant. Vinny, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
You may not think so, but that's brilliant.
No,
I mean, come on.
everyone who sees it, you know.
It's crazy.
They say that, yeah.
That's crazy. It honestly just seems like you just birthed another Another group.
Yeah, another group. And
From what you were doing.
right, from what we were doing. And, you know, the thing is, some people say, oh, y'all replaced Tretch with a bear. And I'm like,
That's not what it is,
no,
though.
it's not what it is.
I didn't get that takeaway from that.
Right, right. And the thing is, it's just a combination of our talents. You know, KG always produced groups. He just never concentrated on the management side. And that's one thing I always told Kay from the outside looking in. I'm like, you know what, Kay? You know how these artists are. You put them on, they blow up, you get them signed to a label, and then they leave. But if you have a management relationship with them, you can sign them directly to a label, but still manage them. And if they leave, you still get the overrides or whatever, or it's harder to break a management contract.
Yeah,
you
and
know?
I'll tell you something else. Even if you had Tretch on stage, and this goes with any company, in this day and age, a mascot is what makes you.
Yeah, yeah. And the thing is Slugger toured with us in 2019 when we did that first New Kids on the Block show. So Naughty by Nature was on the bill. Slugger opened up, but Slugger came and you know, participated on stage with Naughty by Nature.
Do you know how many companies get advertising and marketing sales through a mascot?
Yes, I saw Gary V.
There you go. Yes, just a mascot.
Just a mascot. Look at Geico, look at Ronald McDonald, all of them.
I might get me a pink bear up in here.
Exactly. You know? But here's the other thing, and I told KG this, you know? I said, Kay, we would be the illest group ever if we were to go from the new style with all three members to Naughty by Nature to ILLTOWN SLUGGAZ. But all three of us, me, you, Kay, and Tretch, me, you, and Tretch, did an album under ILLTOWN SLUGGAZ.
I mean,
that would never happen in hip hop. So
that would be ridiculous.
The first time a group would have three different groups with three different members.
Yes.
No one's ever done that.
Crazy. That needs to be done.
That would be crazy. And then Slugger already has a mascot.
That needs to happen.
Yep, yep.
How can we make that happen?
Well, it's really on Tretch.
Who we got to get on the phone?
It's
call
on
him up.
Tretch. We'll make it happen.
You'll work on it?
Yeah,
You'll work on it?
We'll work on
it. What is ILLTOWN SLUGGAZ doing now? Just touring?
Yeah, so, pardon me. So, you know, the last few years, in the streaming age, of course, the music industry is very different. So we've been straight independent, going out of pocket. So with ILLTOWN SLUGGAZ, we've been producing other acts and just releasing a bunch of different singles. So if you're on Spotify, Apple Music, and you look up ILLTOWN SLUGGAZ, even on, you know, YouTube, we have catalog out there.
Okay.
So we started just putting out a bunch of different singles.
As well? You have a YouTube channel?
Yes, yes. So we started putting out a bunch of different singles on a bunch of different artists, right? Nicole Michelle, Freshco, Ryan Lane, you know, just a lot of different singles. And we realized the reality of the game. Us being totally independent without any distribution and any marketing support, all of the majors are clogging all of the algorithms. You know what I'm saying? So that reach is kind of hard to do. Yeah. So if the artists aren't really out there working as well as us, if they don't have their own finances, if they're not able to sustain themselves and everything falls on us, it's really not a sustainable business. However, we did build up that catalog just to get the feel of what today's game is like. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
smart. So we do have great catalog out there, and as well, we're producing hype records. You know what I mean? So we have DJ Doughboy with us, we're producing hype records, and we're putting them out there like the Fat Man Scoop records, you know? And then we're still working with New Kids on the Block. So right now, they just began their residency in Vegas, yeah. So they hired us to do the after party, the first after party.
Oh, nice.
And then
will it be all of you or just ILLTOWN SLUGGAZ?
Just ILLTOWN SLUGGAZ.
Okay.
Yep. Naughty is still on the side.
Got it.
And Tretch, he's out doing his own shows, doing his thing. And Slugger, we're doing our thing. But
love it.
you know, so right now, we're doing the residency after party. So we just did one. We're going back July 5th. We're going to do the second one. And, you know, a little birdie said that there's a potential for a bigger, better opportunity with them out there. So, you know, we'll work that out. But we love that lane for Slugger because we have a great rapport with Donnie Wahlberg, New Kids on the Block, and their blockhead ecosystem.
Yes.
So that's a great platform to platform from.
That audience is great for what you're doing.
Yeah, and then we could spin off and keep producing our music and all of this, and then just being creative with Slugger. Now we have a basketball court dedicated to us in our hometown of East Orange,
In East
New
Orange,
Jersey.
nice.
Yeah.
Where is it?
The Oval Park in East Orange. So that's our childhood park. They did a $7 million renovation, and our mayor dedicated the basketball courts to us. So we have the Naughty by Nature basketball courts. We have the logos.
The logos on there?
On
Nice.
there, on the ground. And now we created this, the Ballin' by Nature Basketball League.
Oh, I love it.
So
I
now
love
we
it.
have Slugger as the mascot. Slugger is holding the basketball. I've configured Slugger to every sport there is.
I love it.
So from fishing to golf to soccer to football. And
I want to see him in a
football's-
cheerleading outfit.
That's right, exactly. Actually, people keep saying, oh, we need a female Slugger, but we do have a naughty shorty character.
You do?
Yes,
Okay.
we do.
Yeah.
But we have the basketball court now, and we're running, this is the first year we're running our basketball league. So we have Slugger the mascot holding up the ball, and it's Ballin' by Nature. We have all of the branding with our banners and all that, and we're running out there. So at this point, you know, for us, it's about legacy. You know, and our city is matching us with that. So they're dedicating this basketball court to us. It's about our legacy right now. And we're using just this initial basketball league to give back, platform these young people, and let them shine under this.
It's youth?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
Perfect.
It's what?
Youth sports?
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
youth. So we're starting with 8th graders in high school. And of course, the adults are there. They're ready to rock.
Of course,
But we're like,
yeah.
let
Calm
the
down,
kids eat
yes.
first, and then we'll go into adults.
I love that for you.
Yes,
That
thank
is
you.
amazing. I pray from here on out, everything you do turns gold.
Yes, thank you. Well,
That's amazing.
and we have a lot, you know, and big shout to our city of East Orange, New Jersey.
Absolutely.
You know, from where we were street kids and getting blamed for bringing gangs into
Yeah.
the city to the 360 we have right now. Shout to the Honorable Mayor Ted Green and the Green Team, the whole administration and our city council.
Absolutely.
The way they're embracing us right now and celebrating us right now, this is the way it was supposed to be. So we're celebrating each other. We're really bigging up our city of East Orange. And we want to put this huge magnifying glass on the city of East Orange. And I always felt this way. It's like hip hop and politics should go hand in hand.
Absolutely.
And from the ruins that hip hop began, you know, with, it's supposed to happen this way. So if God gave us the gift of hip hop and we're able to pull ourselves up, and now you have multimillionaires and billionaires coming out of hip hop, we go back. We're supposed to go back to our communities,
Absolutely.
partner with our cities, big up our cities, develop our cities, invest in our cities,
Yes.
and let our young people see this so they grow up, and they grow up with that legacy in mind.
And they
hip-hop
see those
hustle in
mentors.
mind.
They see you guys as mentors. That's what I love with what Do It All's doing. I
Yes.
think that's great.
Absolutely. And again, we're working hand in hand with our cities, and now we're even bringing our cities together, East Orange and Newark and Orange. I love the coalitions
Yeah.
our mayors have. So, you know, our adults are showing the kids how we should get along. So it's a total 360, and that's what it's about. And with social media and everyone beefing and everyone just, you know, just throwing Hail Marys up there just to get some recognition, we don't need that drama, especially in this climate. We need to double down and triple down, quadruple down on unity.
Vinny, you're amazing. Let me
Thank
just say
you.
this. When I started my podcast, it was a year and a half ago, and I put out a list of like the top 5 people I wanted on. You were on that list.
Thank you.
And it's no disrespect. It wasn't Naughty by Nature. It was you.
Thank you. I
So
appreciate
I've been
it.
watching what you're doing on social media. I think it's amazing. And I
Thank you.
appreciate you coming here. I want to shout out to NJ Soup for making this happen.
Yes, yes. Super
Right?
young, yeah.
Right? Love what you guys are doing. And I pray again that everything you touch turns gold.
Yes. Well, look, Tretch wrote a song about it. It's called Everything's Gonna Be All Right.
There you go. Bob Marley, right?
Yes.
And I want you guys to know I'm still on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. So if this is something that resonates with you, join because the best is yet to come.